Hi, welcome all. In this video, we shall be discussing about decorating graphs. And the topics of discussion are adding title using title function, adding label both x data and y data using x label function and y label function, then drawing grids, then adding legends to the graph. Okay, let us practice all the decorating functions. So for that, first let me import matplotlib .pyplot as plt. Okay, so it's already imported. Now I'm going to create an array, and for that I'm going to import numpy as np. Let me, oh sorry, it's import numpy as np. Okay, now let me create a particular array, say array of integers. Let me call it as I equals np dot arrange, say some 5. So let me create an array I which is 0 1 2 3 and 4. Now let me generate another array which are the squares of these numbers. So let me call it as s, which is nothing but square of I. Since I is a particular array, squaring I will square every element of s. Okay, now let me find out cube as well. So c equals I star star 3. So c is also ready. Now I have 3 arrays, namely I integers, then there are squares and cubes. Now first let me generate some plot and let me add some title. Okay, so plt dot plot integer comma squares. So the plot is ready. Now let me give some title, and plt dot title is the function for that, and the title must be specified as a string. So squares, squares of integers. Okay, now it's generated. Now let us see the graph. Plt dot show. Okay, you can see so there's a spelling mistake in squares, don't worry. So you can see the title. Okay, so this is how we add title to graph. Next, let me generate the same plot. Now I'm going to add what is x data and what is y data, and for that let me use x label and y label. So x label, the label must be a string, so let me give them as integers, and next plt dot y label. So the y label must be again a string, so we'll call it as squares. Okay, this time I'm not going to add a title, so plt dot show. Okay, now you can see the graph, and this time there is no there is no title, but on the x-axis you can see the label as integers, and on the y-axis you can see the label as squares. Okay, and you can actually control the size of x labels, y labels, or title by adding some keyword argument. So let me label the x-axis integers, and font size. Font size is the let me change the size. Font size equal to 20. Okay, now let me show it. Let me see it. plt dot show. Okay, now you can see that the size of y label has increased. Okay, so this is how, sorry, x label has increased. Okay, fine. So we have discussed how we add title to the graph, how we add x label, and how we add y label. Another point is this. Let me see this graph. Okay, you can see that on the x-axis you can see only the boundaries of the canvas. Okay, there is no grids like we see in graph paper. So I wish to add some grid lines so that it is more readable. For example, I don't know what the exact value is this. So if you wish to know it, you must have some grid lines connecting like this. Okay, so for that I can use a grid function. Now I generated a plot, and then plt dot grid. By default, the argument there won't be any grid. You can set it as true. Please note that the argument is boolean. You can pass only true or false. Okay, now let me see the graph. Now you can see the grid lines. Okay, you can see the grid lines. Now it's more readable. Okay, what is the value at 1? What is the value at this point? It's 2. Somewhere here it's 3, something like that. Okay, fine. Next, I have to consider a multiple graph, multiple plots. I'm going to generate 2 plots. One is I versus s, that means integer versus square. Next, I wish to generate plt dot plot I comma cubes. So I have generated another 2-dimensional graph. Now let me see this graph. Okay, you can see multiple lines, but I don't know which line corresponds to squares and which one corresponds to cube. Okay, so it's a common practice that when there are multiple plots, we will add legend to say which line corresponds to which data. Okay, so for that there are 2 different methods. We will see the methods. So okay, now I just add some label equals some. So this is for square, so let me add sq as the label. Okay, right, now I generate another plot I comma c, integer versus its cube. Here I add some label equals cubes. Okay, I added label to both the graph. Okay, now I have to show the legends. plt dot legend. Okay, so this is one way to add legends. Now you can see the graph. Okay, fine. Okay, you can see that there is legend. So this blue line corresponds to squares sq, and this line correspond to cubes. Okay. Right. There is alternate way. The idea is this. You can just plot these two things, I, s. Then you can plot I, c. I have generated the plots. Now I can add some label as a group or sequence. Let me call it as S, C. S stands for squares and C stands for cubes. Okay. Now I can call legend function and the argument must be the label. Okay. Now let me see the graph. Okay, the same graph may be obtained like this. Okay, you can see the graph, the same graph with the same legends. But this is not an advisable technique, because you must remember which graph is plotted first, and your item, that legend must be in the same order. So you must be very cautious about the order if you are adding legends like this. But the previous method, that means whenever you are plotting something, you add some label. Whenever you plot another thing, you add some label there, and after that you can just call the legend function, which makes the life very simple. You need not worry about which one you have plotted first. So that's it. Hope I have covered all decorating techniques. So we have already added title, we have added label, we added grids, and we have added legends. So we have discussed how one can add title, how one can label the X data and Y data, how to add grids in a graph, how to add legends in a multiple graph. So I request you to go through all these techniques and be familiar with these syntax, these instructions. Thank you.